Good evening, I'm Jose Cardenas. Tonight, political experts will preview Arizona's upcoming elections, a summit looking for solutions to bring disconnected youth back to school, and we'll follow up with an academy putting students on a track to succeed in a challenging college preparatory program. All this coming up straight ahead on Horizonte.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station.
Thank you for joining us. The Arizona primary election is less than 1 month away. Legislative, congressional, and statewide races will be on this year's election ballot. Here with me to talk about upcoming primary and general elections are Jaime Molera, partner with Molera Alvarez and John Loredo, former Arizona lawmaker and political consultant. Gentlemen, welcome back. You've been on the show before. Lots to talk about. Let's start with the gubernatorial race. Jaime, you've got at least 5 Republican candidates of stature, 4, probably the most prominent. A lot of discussion about Doug Ducey and whether he's already faltering because everybody thought he was a front runner. He's trying to lower expectations. What's going on there?
Well, the unfortunate thing for Doug was that he was the one that had the most money and probably the largest organization. He got endorsed by people like John Kyle, by Jerry Colangelo. And so the expectations were that the poll numbers automatically were going to translate to, he was going to have 40, 50%. But nobody knows Doug Ducey. Nobody knows who the state treasurer is. And even though he's known in the kind of the establishment world, he's really, when you go to Greater Arizona and go to Republican districts, they don't know who he was. So there's a huge gap between like a Ken Bennett, Christine Jones, I'm forgetting the other ones, Christine Jones, Ken Bennett, Doug, Scott Smith. So their numbers are in the early teens, maybe single digits, but there's 60% of Republicans that are undecided. And so that's the expectations he has to overcome. But at the end of the day, he's still seen as a front runner because with that kind of money and that kind of organization behind him, it's expected that he's going to be able to, now that he's doing commercials, now that he's doing radio, his numbers should be able to go up soon unless it's countered by some of the other candidates.
Who do you see coming out of the Republican primary?
The bet is still Ducey, just because of that kind of money that's behind him. And the other thing is IEs are going to play a big role in this election cycle, independent expenditures. And there's a lot of business interests that are lining themselves behind Ducey. And that's what probably will give him the edge. A lot of people are talking about Scott Smith because he still has a lot of connections to different cities around Arizona, being a very prominent mayor. Christine Jones having a lot of money. Ken Bennett, the question is whether he can catch fire with the precinct committee people and the rank and file Republicans. But it's Ducey that has that core establishment and those dollars that should be effective for him.
So, John, the thinking is that on the Democratic side, Fred Duvall's best shot is if these 4 Republicans, and there are a couple more, tear themselves apart in the primary and don't have enough time to recover for the general. What do you think of that?
Sure. I mean, that's always the bet. I mean, it's good for Duvall to be sitting there with no primary opponent for sure. He can spend his time raising money and doing what he needs to do to prep himself for the general election in November.
Any concern, though, that he just kind of gets off the radar and nobody's even thinking about him?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's a good opportunity for him to raise money and not have to spend it now. He can push all of it out to November. And whereas in the Republican primary, you're going to have people running against each other. With that many people in the field, they're going to have to spend their money in order to make sure that they win. I mean, that's the bottom line. There's going to be undecided voters. They're going to have to spend a lot of money. So they're going to have to raise a lot of money to replenish their funds in a shorter period of time than Duvall will have had.
And who is the ideal candidate from Duvall's perspective to run against in the general?
Probably Al Melvin, I think, or Andrew Thomas would be great.
Neither of whom are likely to come out.
No,
so of
no.
the others.
I think it's a pretty general belief that the person who will pull it out is going to be Doug Ducey. Like Jaime said, resources matter, especially when you're in a crowded field. The way that you pull yourself away from that field is by spending money, and you either have it or you don't. And for Ducey, I think Jaime is correct. He's going to have outside spending coming in. And when you're in it to win it, you're going to do whatever you need to do to pull out in front of him. When you've got the resources to do that, you have the advantage.
Let's go to the congressional races. 3 I want to talk about. 2 are the races that are subject to toss-up, really, in terms of the Republican and Democratic candidates. You got two incumbents, Barber and Kirkpatrick, in what should be tough races for them. How much impact is the current scandal over the Veterans Administration going to have in those races?
Well, that's one of those things that's like a drumbeat. You know, you have that issue that's ongoing, and certainly the Obama administration is taking the brunt of it. You combine that with the economy that's still so much sluggish. You combine that with the huge continuing angst over Obamacare. Combine that with some foreign policy blunders. All of those things, and traditionally, as we all know, in the second term of an incumbent president's midterm elections, that president's party tends to do very bad. And there's a lot of, for whatever reason, maybe it's a lot of angst with that president, maybe they're just they're just tired of that party. But the opposing party tends to do well. And in Arizona in particular, you have 168,000 more Republicans than you do Democrats. Every poll that I've seen shows that Republicans tend to be just a little bit more motivated to vote. And a lot of it is because when you have stories about the VA and people blaming Obama, and anybody that's tied with Obama gets the collateral damage. So Republicans are going to jump on that, and they're using every wedge issue they can. And when you have races and districts like Kirkpatrick's district, and then you have Barber's district, where it's pretty even. Maybe the Democrats might enjoy in Kirkpatrick's district maybe 2%. Actually, with Barber, the Republicans have about a 3-4% advantage there. That's something they're going to try and capitalize on, and especially when the margins are so tight, you're going to see a lot of, again, outside money coming in with the Supreme Court decision on Citizens United, which opens a lot more dollars into these races. You're going to see a lot of outside money coming into Arizona, especially from business interests, to try and push, if it's Tobin, who's the current Speaker of the House, and Martha McSally, who is a very popular candidate down in Tucson, they could have a good chance of pulling those races out.
So, John, do you see those seats going Republican?
No, I don't think so. The bottom line here is that I think for the Democratic incumbents, they're going to have one defense, and the defense is going to be voting records. And you're going to see proposals in voting records in which more funding for VA services and for veterans that has been on the table, especially in the House, being rejected by the Republican majority. So those proposals have been pushed by and large by Democrats. And then those cuts have been coming through on the Republican side. So there's a defense there. But the real bottom line here is that voters are more concerned about the economy. They're more concerned about education than they are anything else. And those are the issues that will override, I think, anything else. The VA issue is a very important issue, especially in districts that have military bases and retirees like down in Arizona, Tucson. And so those issues will be big, but by the time the general election comes, it'll be all about the economy and jobs.
Let's switch now to the race to succeed Congressman Pastor. There, the issue is not whether it's going to be a Democrat or Republican. It's going to be a Democrat, but which Democrat? You've got Mary Rose Wilcox endorsed by the congressman, and then you've got a pretty strong challenger in Ruben Gallego.
There have been a number of polls. Senator Steve Gallardo was in the race up until, I think, last week, and he has dropped down and is now pursuing Mary Rose's old seat at the County Board of Supervisors. Now it's a head-to-head matchup between Wilcox and Gallego. I think you're going to see a pretty tight race there, and in a lot of ways, it is kind of a battle for, between generations, right? You've got Gallego with a much younger electorate, a much younger base of support, and you've got Mary Rose with older voters and an older base of support. I think what it's really going to come down to is which side gets out their base of supporters, more. I don't see a whole lot of persuadable voters in this thing. I mean, they're going to be on one side or the other early.
So it's organization.
And I think that's where they're going to stay. So it comes down to boots on the ground. It's going to come down to money. I mean, just like with the other races, whoever has the ability to do more persuasion, to be out there on the field and in the mail, that's who's going to win this race. And I think, so far we see that Gallego is the one that has more of both.
So we're almost out of time. I do want to talk about one other race quickly. The Attorney General's race is starting to get pretty nasty.
Well, I'm not sure if it's getting nasty as much as that there's a lot of body blows that are being, every day in the Arizona Republic, there's story after story after story on the incumbent Tom Horn. And I would imagine that Felicia Rodolini is saying that's great, but stop running those stories so much, because I'd rather have him as a candidate than maybe a Mark Brnovich, who might have the entire weight of the Republican establishment behind him. So it's certainly something that, Tom has 9 lives. A lot of people have always thought about, he's been able to win elections when they never thought he'd be able to. And I think, though, that he's going to have a tough time getting out of this primary.
And so we really are completely out of time, but do you see Horn surviving?
I don't think he survives the primary, but I still think Rodolini wins the general.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. There's a lot more to talk about. We'll have you back on the show to discuss the elections.
Look forward to it.
The Maricopa County Educational Service Agency hosted a summit focused on reconnecting disconnected youth in Phoenix. The summit explored the problem and its impact on individuals and communities. We'll talk more about what was discussed at the summit, but first, here's a look at what happened that day.
On May 7th, Makisa sponsored its first Disconnected Youth Summit.
Metropolitan Phoenix has the greatest number of disconnected youth. That's a wicked problem.
Leaders from across the country came together to discuss the issue.
If my kids are disadvantaged, they have all of the disadvantages of success.
And begin to mobilize towards effective solutions.
The imagination will allow us to do something transformative that we can only do together. We can't do it alone.
Makisa and the greater Phoenix metropolitan community working together to connect the disconnected. For more information, visit education.maricopa.gov/connect.
Get the inside scoop on what's happening at Arizona PBS. Become an 8 Insider. You'll receive weekly updates on the most anticipated upcoming programs and events. Get the 8 Insider delivered to your email inbox. Visit azpbs.org to sign up today.
With me to talk about the Disconnected Youth Summit is Lori King, Director of Learning and Communication Systems for the Maricopa County Education Service Agency. Lori, welcome to Horizonte. So we use the word disconnected, but disconnected in what sense? What does that mean?
Well, disconnected is a term that has been given to youth ages 16 through 24 who aren't in school or aren't working.
And this was the first summit of its kind here in Arizona, as I understand it. Why now? What happened that made your organization and others decide to focus on this issue?
Well, back in September, a front page article was published in the Arizona Republic by a reporter named Eugene Scott that broke this story about disconnected youth in Phoenix. And it named Phoenix as the #1 city in America with the highest number of disconnected youth. He was reporting on a study that came out of the Measure of America, which is an organization out of New York City that did a study of the entire country and named Metro Phoenix as the #1 metro area in the country with disconnected youth.
Now, some of the kids we're talking about are people that your organization has been working with and many other organizations in the Valley. Why was this such a shock?
Well, I think that when you think about it, it wasn't so much of a shock that it exists, but that Metro Phoenix is such had the highest number, and so that's a sobering statistic. Anytime you look at your own community and you say, "Wow, we're known for this," and so we really knew that we had to get involved as the Education Service Agency for the county, that we needed to quickly jump on this and try to connect these kids.
And from what I understand, the summit was very successful in bringing people together to talk about this problem. What were the results of the summit?
Well, the summit was fantastic. We had about 174 people from different local agencies, nonprofits. We had political leaders, community leaders coming together, and really the point of the summit was to raise awareness of this issue and to really bring to light. What came out of that was a commitment from the people that were there to come together to do something about this. These organizations are already doing great things for kids in this demographic that we would consider disconnected. Fantastic things are going on in pockets throughout Metro Phoenix, throughout the state. But what we wanted to do was bring them together and start connecting what they're doing to really cast a net over Metro Phoenix to gather up as many of our youth as possible to reconnect them.
And there were a number of disturbing aspects of the original report. One we've already talked about, Phoenix is number one in this category, but also, at least on a national basis, amongst Hispanic youth, it's the one group where the number of female disconnected is greater than male disconnected. Why is that?
Right. Well, what we've seen in the research is that young women who have children are 3 times more likely to be disconnected. And we're also seeing that in Metro Phoenix there are pockets, zip codes, neighborhoods that have more disconnected youth than others. And the expectations in the neighborhoods, friends influencing friends, families influencing families, we're seeing the disconnection through those pockets. And so as we look into our neighborhoods that are more segregated, then that's what we're seeing, and that's a big issue that we need to tackle.
Lori, we've only got about 30 seconds left. Big job ahead of everybody. What's the next step?
We have a next summit is October 15th of this year, where we're bringing these groups back together, as well as anybody else who's interested, and looking at creating this collective impact model where we're going to be coming together and making some steps forward as different organizations and different groups, how we're connecting together to really wrap around these kids and get them reconnected into school and into work.
Lori King, thank you for joining us on Horizonte to talk about this.
Thank you.
Loyola Academy opened in 2011 to prepare academically gifted boys from underprivileged families for Brophy College Preparatory. This month, the Academy graduated its first class. We'll talk about the school's progress since it opened 3 years ago, but first, here's a little of what Loyola Academy is all about.
Nobody's ever graduated from college in my family, and I'd really like to be the first one to do that.
Every child deserves an opportunity. I mean, it's that simple.
When I found out I was coming to Loyola, I was ecstatic.
Loyola Academy is a middle school at Brophy College Prep.
We don't refer to ourselves as students because students, they come to school because they have to.
We call them scholars.
Scholars, they come to school because they like to.
Our scholars are low-income students. Most of them come from public schools, so all families have to qualify for free or reduced lunch.
Loyola Scholar is eager to learn. He's bright. Typically hasn't been in a school where he's been challenged.
I love to learn. Someday I'd like to become like a marine biologist.
I want to become a lawyer or a cardiologist.
To get to Loyola, I leave my house at 6:30 in the morning and I get home at 7 o'clock at night.
Kids are here 10 hours a day. They're here 11 months a year.
Academically, we're asking them to meet the demands of a rigorous curriculum. They have gaps already, and so we want to close those, and then we want to push them.
The ethic here is kids do well. Like, college is an expectation, but we recognize that there's more than academics.
Everybody's one big family, one big brotherhood.
Here with me are Kendra Kraus, Loyola Academy Director, and Bob Ryan, Brophy College Preparatory Principal. Thank you both for being back with us on Horizonte. We were here 3 years ago talking about your first class, a lot of excitement, and now you've reached quite a milestone. As we're talking, we're going to show some footage of the ceremony. What do you call it? Promotion ceremony?
Promotion, yep.
As these kids are now going into the 9th grade. Lessons learned from these first 3 years with these kids?
I think a lot. Fortunately, a lot of the lessons have been affirmations of what we believed before we started. So take kids that are really committed to education and families that are as well, give them a lot of opportunity, access to really great teachers, a ton of support, and they do well. And I think that's been the biggest lesson, honestly. Like, the kids really flourish when the community and the culture and the ethic is all geared around, like, it's all based around them and what is going to allow them to be successful.
This first cohort started with 32 kids, is that right?
Yes.
And how many of them participated in the promotion ceremony?
25 promoted last week to the 9th grade. So, it's...
And we'll be seeing some of them in a moment on the screen going through the ceremony. Must have been a feeling of tremendous accomplishment for you as well as for them.
It was a great moment for the whole school, the whole community. Really proud of the boys, proud of the teachers that spend every day with them, the great work that they've done. And as Kendra said, it really just affirmed for us what's possible with kids when they have the right support system and structure in place.
Now, when we were here last time, you were both surprised, actually, at the number of kids who stuck with it. Even that first semester, I think, is where we had been. 25 out of 32 seems pretty impressive, too.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some disappointment that they all didn't make it. But do you feel pretty good about that number?
Very much so. In fact, it's still surprising to me. You get 7th, 8th grade boys who show up at 7:30, no later than 7:30. A lot of them are there earlier than that, and they're there till 5:30 every day, and they don't mind it. They're not pining to get out of there every afternoon. And I think that speaks to the culture that Kendra mentioned, that I think has been the absolute key to the program. This real sense of community that's been established up there, and the boys feel connected to each other. They feel connected to the school, and so they're not anxious to leave at 5:30.
Kendra, we just finished watching some scenes of you shaking hands with these young men as they're going through. You've got 2 more classes now. What are you going to be doing differently, if at all, with these kids as compared to the ones who just made it up?
It's a great question. We're going to learn a ton in the next year as they're 9th graders for the first time, kind of what are they struggling with and what isn't a struggle at Brophy. So I know we're going to make a ton of adjustments, probably a year from now especially. But we've continuously adjusted, everything from adding time to study vocabulary to different trips that we've taken to different support mechanisms in place. Like we have a parent-family coordinator now that we didn't have when we started. So I think one of the graces of our position and our place is the ability to be really flexible based on what kids and families need.
And Bob, how's life going to be different for this group now that they're in the general population?
They kind of exist in a little bit of a cocoon, on the top floor of this old classroom building, that's where they take their classes. That's their big student union, where they spend time in the morning and after school in kind of a study hall session, and then in the next year they'll just be integrated into the general, high school student population of 1,250 boys. So we believe that the whole reason the program exists is so that when boys do get to 9th grade, they're ready for all of the challenges and opportunities that await them. But it will be different. They're used to having Kendra and her staff, know everything about them on a minute-by-minute basis, and that won't necessarily be the case next year. But everybody's really excited for what they're going to accomplish next year.
And Kendra, the whole purpose of the program was to prepare these boys for the prep school. So that'll be the real test of whether you've succeeded. But along the way, you've been doing testing. Tell us about the results.
Right, so our kids take the Iowa Basic Skills Test, which is a fairly common standardized test. They take it every October or September. In general, our kids have made 2 years of growth for every year, 2 years of academic growth for every year that they've been with us. So like a kid that came in on a 6th grade level, in theory, tested at a 10th grade level at the beginning of 8th grade. So we've definitely seen academic growth from a objective metric.
And you're pretty comfortable that they're going to make it in prep school?
Yeah, yeah, they're awesome.
So talk very briefly about the selection process for the kids who are going to start in your program.
So I think the biggest thing is, they have to qualify financially, so all kids have to qualify, their families have to qualify for free reduced lunch. We really want kids and families that are committed to education. A 10-hour day and 11-month a year isn't for everybody. And those 2 things alone kind of make up the driving force of the decision-making process, I think. And then we look for kids that are really curious. They've done well in school, but maybe haven't had as much opportunity. And they generally come from schools that don't normally send kids to Brophy.
Bob, we're almost out of time. Finances, how do you pay for this?
The school, the reason the program exists is because we believe that all young people deserve a quality education. And so we have had financial aid in place for students at the high school for years, but realized that for kids that came from underserved communities, finances were only part of the equation. So the school made a real commitment to make it possible for these kids beginning in 6th grade. So it's a combination of the state tax credit, but the primary source of funding is just private donations. We've had really generous funders that have supported us from
And
the
you've
beginning.
done very well with what you've had. So my congratulations to both of you. I hope to see you guys back here, 3 years when these kids are graduating from high school?
Sure, we'd love it.
And we'll see how things did then.
Great.
Thanks
Thank
very
you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
That's our show for tonight. From all of us here at 8 and Horizonte, I'm Jose Cardenas. Have a good night.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.